What's not to like? Look at the cash flow. 779 up from 462. And again, this is why everyone gets Palantir wrong. Look at the cash flow. Almost tripled while revenue doubled. That's called leverage. Revenue doesn't have to grow that much. Cash flow will go through the roof. The cash flow is like basically doubling again year over year. Almost doubling year over year. You don't need a lot of doubles year over year to get to a crazy number. So everyone's like, oh, it's this much times revenue. Well, hold on. Revenue doesn't pay the bills. Earnings pays the bills. And GAAP earnings and free cash flow are two different things. So like, don't, it's not a very Shkreli thing to do. Don't ever say price to sales if you haven't normalized for margins. Look at these guys, right? Look at the cash flow free cash flow margin, right? Look at that. 50% of revenue is net earnings after tax. 50%. How many companies do you know have 50% net margins? Net margins, right? So if I catch you, okay? If I catch you say, well, Zscaler, well, it gets worse because what people will do, I hope you guys are paying attention. What people will do is they'll do some cardinal sins here. So this was year ending, let me do this right, 7/31/24, 7/31/23, 7/30/22. This was 10/31/24. Okay. Stay with me, pay attention. This is the really valuable shit right here. This is just like a lot of the fallacies, follies, and idiocies that come with growth stocks. A lot of people don't understand growth stocks, and you cannot be a good investor. And Buffett proved this. You cannot be a good investor unless you understand growth. It is critical. Growth is everything in investing. Everything. Because growth compounds the same way investment returns compound. Cash flow compounds. Let's see here. A little tedious, bear with me. This is going to be worth it. Okay. This is April. All right, I'll just do the revenue because that's the point I'm mostly trying to make here. Great. Okay, so I see some of you. I do. I see you. And I got beef because if a lot of people complain about how expensive some of the growth stocks are, like Palantir. But they don't really understand what they're looking at. And I want to help you understand. So here is Zscaler, which is, it's a growth stock. It's not like Palantir. But no, Kami, it's mostly Jason. I just do the business side. I wish I could do the tech side. Shit. I wish. I mean, I do some of it, but I can't compete with my brilliant coworkers, Jason, Vlad, Fat Cat, our newest guy, Param, These guys are really smart. Anyway, okay, so let's say I just look at these last 12 months. That's called TTM, trailing 12 months, right? What's the trailing 12 months? That's 2.3 billion total, okay? What mistake did I just make? What mistake did I just make? Whoa, INQ, what the fuck? What the hell happening? I love it. I love this shit. You don't really even realize the market's open. So what mistake did I just make, if anybody knows?
Order filled.
Well, I'm just trying to get a number. Yeah, exactly, Pascal. You know, if you're looking at the last 12 months, you're really in a growth company. You're really ignoring the growth the company has. In fact, you should be looking at the next 12 months, or just annualize the current quarter. But you know, there's a couple ways to do it. But looking at the past is really just not the way to do it at all. So. So the trailing is 2.3. So let's look at, so it's a trailing revenue. So a noob might look at this and say, okay, I'm going to use the trailing revenue to somehow divine something meaningful. So someone slightly smarter might look at the run rate. So what's the run rate? That's 628 last quarter times 4. Well, that's a little better. That's 2.5 billion. If you're really smart, you look at future 12 months, basically, your next 12 months, and you'll take the run rate and you'll multiply it by their growth rate, and now you got 3.26 billion. That's still not the right thing to do, because what we really want to look at is free cash flow, because unless we know the margins, price to sales means nothing, right? So now let's look at free cash flow. Well, free cash flow for 2024 was 635. Again, not maybe the smart thing to do. You could try the run rate, which is 314 times 4, but you're still getting not really a great number, because you want to look at the growth of that. This is maybe the real number. So look at how different each of these pictures are. This gives us 14 times sales, which doesn't sound so great. This gives us 13 times sales, and this gives us 10 times sales. But even 10 times sales, it sounds kind of expensive, right? Well, it's not, because now let's look at the actual earnings. Well, if we look at last year's free cash flow, 50 times earnings doesn't sound so great. If we look at the run rate, it's 25 times earnings, which for a 30-40% revenue growth company is great. But if even better, next 12 months cash flow, 17 times earnings for a company growing like crazy. And so you can go from like thinking it sucks to thinking it's super cheap just by changing your frame. You know, adjusting your frame of what the fuck you're looking at.
Order partially filled. Order filled.
Yeah, I mean, that just goes into enterprise value, which is why we use enterprise value instead of market cap. In this case, they're very similar. So it looks like a great company, even if the product isn't fantastic. But we have to worry about other things like, you know, is this company saturating their opportunity? You can see growth is, you know, I always talk about the second derivative. The second derivative of growth is negative. It went from 40% growth to 35 to 32 to 30 to 26. You know, are we going to see this growth rate continue to, you know, drop? I mean, EV to EBITDA isn't that crazy. I mean, it's EV to EBITDA could be kind of useful sometimes. Um, it gives you a kind of an equal playing field for everyone. That's why bankers like it so much. Um, I'm not saying you should live and die by EV to EBITDA, but
Order cancelled.
I understand why people like it. Like, it's not insane, you know. Um, to me at least. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, EBITDA does give you information. It's not like it's useless. EV is always like market cap is always irrelevant compared to EV. Always. It's just not easy to look up market cap. I'm sorry, EV. You know, you got to sit there and look at the balance sheet.